harvested in the fall. We planted 311,959 seeds. That's the number of memberships that we sold in the spring. But that doesn't count unless we harvest the crop. In other words, unless people send in their ballots and vote. Has everyone in this room voted already? There's still a little bit of time left, but not much. And that's why we're out rallying across the country. I think the reason that we have had this unprecedented movement, record-smashing numbers, to create a total membership of 675,000 members, the biggest political party in Canadian history. It's because people are tired of being bullied by big bossy government. They're tired of the Prime Minister that pushes them around and speaks down to them and calls them terrible names. And they're ready to stand up and demand their birthright, their God-given right to live in the freest country on earth. Freedom means taking control of your own medical decisions, having the right to work, to cross the border, to visit family. Freedom means being able to earn a wage without having it all clawed back in taxes and inflation, right? We know all about inflation here in British Columbia, Vancouver, the third worst housing bubble anywhere on planet Earth. We compare median house price to median income. Why is this? Why is it that everything is so expensive? Well, it's not just housing. You also see it with food price inflation up 10%, or the cost of fuel, $1.89 a liter here today, making it next to impossible for many working class families to get where they're going. Why have prices risen so fast under Justin Trudeau? It's pretty simple. The cost of government is driving up the cost of living. $500 billion of inflationary deficits means more dollars chasing fewer goods, which leads to higher prices. Inflationary taxes makes it more expensive for businesses to produce those same goods. The more Trudeau spends, the more things cost. It's just inflation, isn't it? Printing cash is no way to make people better off. You have 10 loaves of bread, $10. Well, it's $1 for each loaf of bread. Increase the number of dollars to 20, but you still have 10 loaves of bread. Well, all of a sudden, it's $2 for a loaf of bread, right? That's what our Bank of Canada has been doing, printing money to fund Justin Trudeau's spending, leading to 8% inflation, a 40-year high. The Bank of Canada has one job: keep inflation at 2%, not 8%. Tell me, what happens when a waitress, a barber, or a mechanic doesn't do their job? But somehow a big shot banker who works for Justin Trudeau, making nearly $500,000 a year, who doesn't do his job, he gets to keep it regardless. That's how things work in Justin Trudeau's Ottawa. That's not the real world. That's not the real world. When I become Prime Minister, we're going to bring the real world to Ottawa. I will fire the bank governor and replace him. Spending under control. I'll bring in a new approach that manages your money with the same respect that you manage your own money. You know, we'll get rid of the $35 billion infrastructure bank that does nothing but pay bonuses to executives and protect profits of multinationals while it hasn't completed a single project in 5 years. That's a perfect opportunity to save some money. I'm going to axe the $35 billion infrastructure bank. $1 billion by defunding the CBC. pushes his scarcity onto other people through higher debt, taxes, and inflation. Well, what if we passed a law that said politicians have to find a dollar of savings every time they bring in a new dollar of spending? They did this in the United States in the 90s, and guess what? They balanced the budget, paid off $400 billion of debt, and as soon as the law lapsed, America went right back into deficit and has not emerged ever since, proving the age-old rule that politicians need legal limits on their spending. You have been pinching your pennies long enough. It's time for politicians to pinch their pennies too. More energy right here in Canada. We need to get the government gatekeepers out of the way. No bigger example than Vancouver City Hall. You know, in this thing. The gatekeepers at City Hall in Vancouver have added $650,000 of cost to every single new unit of housing built in the city. Through delays, through permitting charges, through taxes, through more delays, through consultants, lawyers, and all of these you have to pay. Every penny of it is passed on to the end buyer. The developers don't care. They just pass the price on to the buyer. That's why the young people in this city cannot afford a place to live. 35-year-olds living in their parents' basements. Whenever I ask how you bring home a date when you have your living home basement, there's usually a mother in the crowd who says, very carefully. When I was 14, we used to bring our dates in through the side window. But you're not going to tell my mother that, right? But truthfully, how is it that you start a life, raise a family, build home equity, have collateral or credit history if you can't afford a home? Home ownership is the basic building block of economic opportunity. It is the springboard that gives the poor, the working class, and the newcomer the chance to start a life and build a better future. To do that, we need to actually build houses. Here's how we're going to do it. The Poilievre government will link the number of infrastructure dollars a big city gets to the number of houses that actually get completed, so that the City Hall politicians have an incentive to get the gatekeepers out of the way, get construction started, and get people houses. Secondly, I will require that every single federally funded transit station have pre-approved high-density housing right around it, so that our young people live right next to the station. Underutilized 37,000 federal buildings so that we can convert that into housing and convert the proceeds of sales into deficit reduction. It warms my heart to think of the beautiful family pulling up in their new home to empty out their belongings into their wonderful new home in the former headquarters of the CBC. Of arable land per capita on Earth, and yet 4 and 5 families are having to cut their diets because they can't afford the rising cost of food. Worse, Trudeau's gatekeepers are piling on more and more costs to our farmers with a carbon tax that increases the cost of fertilizer and energy. And then he wants to increase the carbon tax by 200%. You know this carbon tax? They applied it to this tomato farmer in my ride, his greenhouse. And they wanted to tax him on the CO2 that he releases into the greenhouse, even though it's absorbed by the plant
He was in Costa Rica.
So here's the result. It's more expensive to buy a Manotick tomato in Manotick than a Mexican tomato in Manotick. So we're signaling to consumers that they should pay for the tomato that had to be transported by truck and train, burning fuel all the way from Mexico rather than buying the local produce. Furthermore, Trudeau wants to cut back on fertilizer by 30%, which of course will mean it will take more land to grow the same amount of food. So they'll have to run the combines, the tractors, longer distances, burning yet more fuel. And of course, more and more production will be outsourced to faraway lands with less environmental protections, and then truck and train long distances, burning yet more fuel to bring those goods to us. Didn't we learn during COVID how irresponsible it was to rely on the rest of the world to provide us with our essentials? Shouldn't we learn to take care of ourselves, get off the backs of our That's why I'm calling the government will repeal the carbon tax, end this fertilizer cut mandate, get off the backs of our farmers, allow them to produce more food, make this the breadbasket of the world. Over in the Kremlin, there's a group of Putin's advisors who roll around in gut-splitting laughter at what a sucker our Prime Minister is. Just last month, he violated his own sanctions against Putin to send a turbine back that we were maintaining in Montreal that powers the gas transmission through Putin's pipeline over to Germany. Now, remember, this is the same Prime Minister who's against building pipelines in Canada, but he's in favor of maintaining pipelines in Russia that ultimately allow Putin to fund his war against Ukraine. This while we have 1,300 trillion cubic feet of natural gas that we could be sending around the world to displace the dirty dictators. And we have an enormous advantage in that natural gas production. One, we have so much of it. Two, the shortest shipping distance to Asia from Canada is British Columbia. The shortest distance to Europe from North America is Newfoundland. And three, how do you get natural gas to become a liquid so it can go on a ship? You cool it down. And what do we have in Canada? Cold weather. Oh, stop complaining. You don't have cold weather out here. Terminals when Justin Trudeau took office. Zero have been built, and so exactly zero of our natural gas is directly shipped overseas from Canada. A poly of government will remove the government gatekeepers, repeal C-69 anti-energy law, and replace it with a law that consults First Nations, protects our environment, but gets projects built so that we can liquefy natural gas and we can ship it to Asia to shut down coal-fired plants and ship it to Europe to break the pennies. By 400,000 barrels a day so that we can fully replace the 130,000 barrels of overseas oil from foreign dictatorships we're bringing in. And within 5 years, we will end dictator oil imports to Canada altogether. And I will ban all my ministers from any involvement in the World Economic Forum. Here we are, the most here expecting to be able to treat patients, but then local gatekeepers don't give them a license. They don't even give them an answer. And so they wait, often doing low-wage jobs, unable to ever pursue the dreams for which they worked so hard and which they came here to pursue in the very first place. Meanwhile, my blood boils when I sit in a waiting room at a hospital with my little girl and she suffers from a migraine because we have a doctor shortage. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the doctors. We just need to allow them to practice medicine. A calling of government. Yes. Deals with the provinces, bringing in a 60-day guarantee so that within 60 days of an immigrant professional applying to work in his profession, he should get a yes or no answer based on tested ability, not based on where they come from. Yes. And we're going to allow immigrants to begin working on getting their credentials even before they get to Canada so they can arrive and hit the ground running. For those falling just short of the Canadian standard, we'll back up 30,000 small, privately delivered study loans so they can take the time off work, study up, get licensed, get to work as doctors, engineers, electricians, earning big, powerful, inflation-proof paychecks, serving our economy and our fellow Canadians. By gun criminals, right? And we know that these gun criminals are getting their firearms brought in from the United States by traffickers. A small minority of people commit a vast majority of the violent crimes, but yet Justin Trudeau's revolving door justice system puts them right back out on the street without any serious consequences. Meanwhile, he wants to spend $1 billion buying back the sporting and hunting rifles and pellet guns of law-abiding duck hunters and farmers. Look, it is not a duck hunter from out in the countryside that is shooting up downtown Vancouver, right? Government will, instead of targeting our law-abiding duck hunters and farmers, I will toughen our justice system and put the real criminals behind bars. And speaking of our law-abiding people, we're going to remove the gatekeepers that try to control what you see and say online. Right? In the room? No wokesters here. You know what the woke movement is really about. It's about dividing people. You know, Trudeau wants to divide people by race, by ethnicity, by sexuality, and now by vaccine status. You know why? Why does he want to do that? Because he believes if you're afraid of your neighbor, your trucker, your co-worker, well, then you'll turn to him and offer him more power and control over your life to protect you from your fellow citizen. And so he introduces a bill like C-11, which would give gatekeepers at CRTC the control over what appears in your newsfeed or your YouTube stream, and allow those bureaucrats to dictate the public debate in this country, obviously shutting out your voice and the voice of countless other people. Ladies and gentlemen, we have something called Section 2B of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Unfortunately, yes, that's a very important section. Unfortunately, not a lot of university campuses are aware of that section, right? The woke warriors there try to shut down debate by professors and students, requiring everybody to adhere to the same woke, politically correct consensus. They push Jordan Peterson out of the University of Toronto, right? Now, you don't have to like Jordan Peterson, but if you disagree with him, debate him, right? Debate him. Have a debate, but they don't want to have a debate. They know they will lose the debate. We believe as conservatives that everyone should have a voice in the rise to the top. Section 2B, 2B or not 2B? That is the question. And the Colleague of Government will give you the answer. I will protect free speech. I will repeal C-11. And I will require campuses. We will require universities that want federal grants for research to commit that they will honor freedom of expression rights contained in the Charter of Rights and Freedoms so students and faculty can exchange those ideas. You know what I love most about freedom? There's a lot of things I love about freedom. But unlike control, freedom unites people. Let me explain why. See, control, there's only 100% of it. So it's a zero-sum game. One person gets more control, somebody else must get less. That's why people fight over control. Freedom is different. It's an unlimited supply. That's why people fight for freedom. If your neighbor gets more freedom, you are not left with less freedom. You too get more freedom, right? If, for example, your Muslim neighbor gets more religious freedom than you as a Hindu or a Sikh or a Christian, you'll have more religious freedom, right? Or if that person who is fired because of their vaccine status gets to go back as a nurse, you will have the freedom to have better medical care, right? If your local small businessman gets the freedom from red tape, then you'll have the freedom to buy his products more affordably, and your teenager might have the freedom to get a job working for him. You see, one person's freedom is another person's freedom. So instead of divide and conquer, why don't we unite for freedom in this country?